everyone, this is Lisa Raymond with Visibly Media. What I wanted to show you today was two things about fonts and about contrast. Now, fonts itself can or cannot create contrast by themselves, but they can be swallowed by contrast if you don't have a strong enough font. And with contrast, you don't want to put competing colors together. You want to make sure they're complementary, but still have contrast. So that way, whatever your message is, and hopefully it's a really good one too for marketing, your message is clearly understood and clearly seen. We're going to start here with this little diagram or ad that I made as a test from one of my other videos. If you haven't seen that, hop over to my YouTube channel and check out the videos that I made for Canva. This is in here. With this, what we started off with was just your basic orange background. We'll cover the fonts aspect first. Now, I wanted a spooky font, of course, because it's coming up on Halloween. But I could have gone through something that was more traditional. So let me show you what happens if I do that. I'll keep one of them active here so you can see. We'll zoom in a little bit and see. Now, if I wanted to change this from the Schlop to a different font, I could choose Canva. That's a sans. Montserrat. It's fairly okay, but it also is only okay at a certain size. So if I make it smaller, of course, and then come out to where this fits, it's not as easy to see, but it's still okay to see. It's a thin font. When you're looking for fonts that are not going to get swallowed by contrast and offer their own contrast, you want something that may be thicker, especially when you have a colored background. So if I were to take out this colored background, say, let's go to white, it's still okay, at least the darker one here, especially because I have a drop shadow behind it. This one is a drop shadow, but it's a little harder to see, which means I'd have to add a contrast, or I may have to add a heavier facet of that font, like a bold, for example. Okay. Sometimes you can't do that. So you have to work with what you're trying to do. So I want to keep the orange background here. I may or may not want to do anything different with this, but I want to show you the different aspects of it. You could go to what they call sans-serifs, which is what I've been going through here. A sans-serif, it has even strength of the sides and tops and bottoms of the font. It's equal pretty much on all sides. A sans-serif, like this one, and I'll zoom in so you can see it. This has some thick and thin points to it, which is pretty typical of this kind of a font. You're going to have, like, say, for example, your A and part of your P down here. Let me get rid of shadow. That's kind of annoying. Okay. You have your thin font part here with the part of the closing of the P. Not so much on the Y, a little bit on the A. This one's a little bit more even than normal. A serif also has what they call these little feet on the bottoms of the fonts. It's why they call them a serif font. Those are serifs. That gives them standing, back to older days of fonts, the older types of fonts. Another type of font, if I can find it, would be Times. Let's see if that's in here. There we go. So if I do that, and this one can see a little easier. As this bowl of the A goes towards closure on either end, it's thinner, so it's a little harder to see. Same thing with the cross on the H, a little bit on the closing and the start of the P. So if I were to back out until this was actually fitting, it's a little harder to see what those letters are, even though I have a contrast color back there, because they're thinner. When you're looking at using fonts, you want to make sure you pick something for your audience, for the medium you're going to use it for, whether it's for print or for the internet or for social media. Make sure it makes a good standing contrast on its own, even without the change of color. I could put this into white, which makes it a little easier. The best contrast color for the font would be black, honestly. But even in black, because of the strength of the orange behind it, it's harder to read. That means you'd have to make it bigger, so it's easier to see. So keep that in mind when you're making up your fonts with this. Now, with contrast colors, and we just talked about it with Happy Halloween. I'm going to go back to my Schlop here because I really like that. You want to pick colors that are going to make a standout, but not compete by strength or color with your whole theme that you've picked. Even if you use one of the themes that comes in, like this was a theme I brought in to do a demonstration in my last video, just over on my YouTube channel under Canva for the playlist. There's things I could have done with this font because it's behind the, or in front of the white moon. That would make that easier. These guys, not so much. I could go ahead and change this maybe to the green, and it would make some sense to a point, but not so much because you don't normally see green on a pumpkin, you see orange. Make sure it makes sense, but you wouldn't want to pick this color maybe because it's a little strong and similar in strength of hue to the black. You can see it, but it's beginning to become a strain on the eyes, if that makes sense. I could go to this red. It's a little bit brighter, but it's still got a problem with that strain. Blue, because of the background, not so bad. Gold, and then of course the orange. So you can get away with certain things with that, but it depends. So if I were to take this guy, for example, we put him up here with the orange. Because of his black, there's not going to be a lot I could do. I could change his color to purple. So now I have a purple pumpkin. The purple competes with the orange. So the question is, does it stand out? And the answer is yes. Make him a little smaller too, so that way he's really more on the orange. Does he stand out? Yes. Does it create a visual distortion or an eye strain? For some people it could. It does with me because it's too close to the strength of the hue of the orange. Even though the orange has this white glow from the moon going up into it, it is still more or less a pure orange. Let's try something else. Let's go back down here. You'll really see the difference here. I'm putting him back up here too, so the way he is. So I kind of like this. I flip him over, which we also covered in one of my last ones. Nope, no, I didn't. Okay. This is the same kind of strength hue the purple is to this orange here. Now I could make the orange lighter. Absolutely could do that. That way it's not nearly as competing. There are some colors that don't play well together. Orange and purple, honestly, are one of them. Green seems to be okay with orange because they both are built from the base color yellow. Orange and purple, though, do not, because purple has a base of both blue and red. Blue and red and yellow together, though they're primary, don't always play well together. So you have to be very careful putting those together. Same thing with the color blue itself. If I were to go ahead and duplicate this guy and make him blue. No, not that one, not the nice. It's been a day. So if I make him blue, you can then get more of an eye strain because again, the orange is built on red as primary color. Blue is its own primary color. Those two colors do not play well in the sandbox together. If I were to go ahead and take this one's eyes from orange to red, then it creates more of a distortion, even the brighter red. Even though it looks spooky, it's an eye strain. So you want to be careful when you're creating contrast that you're not creating the contrast that would actually keep someone from wanting to read your ad, whether again, it's in print, it's on social media, or even on your website. Be careful with that. I hope this was helpful for you today. If you have any questions, please drop me a line at lisa@visiblymedia.com or put your comments in the YouTube. I'll have some more videos coming out probably over the next few days just to give people an idea of what they can and can't do for design. I was inspired by this by Leanne Calderwood. She put out a video and I think a how-to on how people can do things in Canva because you don't really have to be a graphic artist like me that has done this for years, has a degree. You don't have to, but there are some things to be aware of. So that way, when you make your standing graphics, whether again, they're in print or the web or social media, they don't just stand there, they stand out. They talk to your audience and inspire them to take that next action. So one of the videos I'll be creating down the road, probably a few days, will be about what we call in the industry CTAs or calls to action. Make sure you have the right one, make sure they get an opt-out, depending upon what it is. And we'll still use social media posts then as our medium for that. Till then, thanks for watching and drop me a line if you have any questions. Got my contact information at the end of the video. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss another video that I put up. I'll catch you on the other side soon. Thanks again.